Hello, friend. Looks like we got some news, some updates, but more importantly, we have something that happened. So let's check it out. The goal of this channel is to translate this stuff from French to English, and so that you don't miss any details. So we try to find what's new, and I did spot something that happened. So it's gonna be very interesting. Trust me. All right. First off, so you know Bobby the Greek. We just found out about him over here. They say he ran the Greek crew or something like that. The guy got killed in Laval. Looked like he was ambushed inside of a Starbucks with many witnesses there. People, two or three people walked up to their table and then started to spray. And then the question was, what happened to the other two people? Did they live or die? There was no details on that. Only Bobby the Greek died. So first off, vehicle tied to the assassination of Bobby the Greek has been found, and it's burning. Of course, that's how it's done, unfortunately. And so they found it. Let's see, where did they found it? Just curious always where the landing spot is. Let's see here. Said that they received 911 received a call at 3 a.m. So that ambush happened in the middle of the day, as best as I understand it, because of the guy. The police, when they were there, the crime scene was in the broad day. Unless they unless they were the news cameras filmed it, like, I don't know, the following day or something, which I doubt. It looked like it was on. It was fresh. So they received a call at 3 o'clock. Usually this means 3 in the a.m. Yeah, in the night of Wednesday to Thursday, signaling that a vehicle was on fire. So the smart way to do this, maybe if you flee the crime scene, usually they burn it almost immediately, from what I've seen often happen. Especially in British Columbia, they finish the hit, and it's like literally minutes away, the car's burning, and then they flee. They don't even want to hold on to it. In this case, since that murder happened in the day and it burned at 3 a.m., they were, I don't know, could you say it's more cautious or less cautious? What do you think? But they received a call at 3 a.m. They decided to burn it around that time. And where was it dropped off? In RDP. So quite the way. That is quite the way. I'm not saying it's another city far. You're driving hundreds of kilometers, but it's not. It's not like nearby whatsoever. You got to go out of your way still from where the location of the hit was to go to Pointe-aux-Trembles, RDP, whatever. Man, you have intentions to go far from the scene. Is what I'm trying to say here. So they took their time with it. They parked it somewhere, I guess. And then by 3 a.m. said, look, they're looking probably for this vehicle. They have cameras everywhere. So we need to burn it now. In a sense, it's not too prudent to keep it that long either, since they definitely know which car you came in. They could figure this stuff out. Or maybe not. Maybe it takes a little bit longer than that. I don't know. But they found the car. It was burning. And they say 2 suspects were seen fleeing. Oh, this is for the hit. Inside of a vehicle. They don't give you the mark of the vehicle. I don't even see a picture here. They don't seem to describe it. Close to the. All right, yeah, that's it. We're not gonna reread the summary of what happened the other day. Okay. I'm just trying to see if there's anything we can not miss here. Any extra details. Sometimes there's a payoff. Yeah, it looks like. Yeah, these are politicians speaking. Yeah, they're just saying, remember once that it happened before, that there was 3 shootings in one single day in Laval. The middle of the day, people don't care. Even more, they're saying that in the region of Laval, as much as the region of Montreal, unfortunately, he says that there are Hells Angels, street gangs, and different gangs of Asian, Lebanese, Greek, without even adding the Italian mafia in there too. And they are in competition one against the other, what it says here. All right. Can we? Yeah, this is more propulsion. Okay, good. We can finish that one. Now let's see what they had in the. What's up, Daniel? How are you, buddy?
Un crime en...
Yeah, let me see if I can lower the volume before it blows your ears. I don't have the same volume level as you. For me, it's so low I can barely hear it. For you, it blows your ears. I don't know why. But all right, I'll do my best to hear and translate. Nope, I can't hear anything. Sorry, I think I muted it. I have to go so small here. Yeah, it looks like it just goes by notches.
en plein jour et dans un café.
So that's the footage right there in the middle of the cafe.
Regardez ces nouvelles images. Daniel Renault est avec...
All right, and I cannot, do the rest. You understand why? So I'm gonna do it like this. Maybe. Can I use my arrow? They're already fleeing, so it's really a few frames. I believe they are sitting in the corner here, right here, because I watched the tape, the footage. So you can see like 3 people were sitting there. Whichever's Bobby the Greek, I cannot tell, but I cannot press play on that. I apologize because of YouTube's babying policies, and then they fled. Yeah, I cannot even hear what he's saying. I apologize. Be careful for the volume.
Ça, c'est pas clair.
Un pistolet automatique.
So did he have an automatic tool?
Semi-automatique.
Semi-auto?
C'est pas clair. Est-ce que
He says it's not
c'est
clear.
une arme automatique ou pas? Il y a des pistolets aussi qui se transforment avec un Glock switch, ce qu'on appelle.
Says there's some of these that can actually be a normal handgun, and you can actually use a switch or something like that. I have no knowledge, and it would seem like it's an auto.
Communément en anglais.
Ouais.
Oui, qui peut permettre de tirer davantage de coups de feu avec des chargeurs haute capacité. Mais vous voyez, d'abord, un meurtre commis dans un endroit public, c'est pas nouveau.
First, you see this crime happening in a public place. That is not new.
Rappelez-vous Bernard Cherfan, tué
Remember Bernard Cherfan,
en
Lebanese mafia,
plein restaurant.
who was killed in the middle of the broad day in the restaurant?
Il y a plein de monde autour. Oui, c'est vrai. Oui.
Bon.
And
Mais
Bernard
il y en a eu
Cherfan, if you didn't know, that was a colleague of Frédéric Silva.
d'autres. Et là, ce qu'on peut remarquer, souvent, on va chercher l'opportunité. Remarquez que les victimes sont dans un coin.
And often you'll notice that you'll see that they're seizing an opportunity. Here I want you to pay attention the fact that the victims are in the corner.
De la salle à manger, personne autour.
Nobody around.
S'il y a des balles perdues, on risque pas nécessairement de blesser quelqu'un. Puis là, je suis pas en train de...
And they put a little bit of care not to hurt anyone. And he says, but look,
de justifier. Non,
I'm not trying to justify that they did the right thing to do it there,
Ça a
de
été
leur
bien
pardonner.
fait.
or forgive them.
Mais on m'a dit, effectivement, des sources policières aujourd'hui m'ont dit que ça avait été bien fait.
But I spoke to police officers and they said that clearly this was a well done job.
Mais donc, on a probablement observé les victimes avant de passer à l'acte.
So we probably had even observed the victims beforehand before proceeding to committing the act.
Vu qu'ils étaient positionnés dans un endroit fermé, on est passé à l'acte.
Bon, ça, c'est sur le
And then when they saw the opportunity, they took it.
comment, parce que bien sûr, on a beaucoup fait état aujourd'hui que c'était en plein jour, qu'il y avait des passants, que c'est très... il y a beaucoup de monde autour de ces commerces-là. Qui est ce Bobby le Grec qu'on est allé tuer?
So who is this Bobby the Greek? Well, we already answered that question. We read about it. I just want to be triple check. Sometimes they add one little thing we did not know.
Bobby le Grec ne cherchait pas sa place en quelque part dans la hiérarchie du crime organisé. En fait, il était le chef d'une cellule. En fait, il ne cherchait pas...
Qu'il y avait des passants, que c'est très... Qui est ce Bobby le Grec qu'on est allé tuer? Là?
Bon, Bobby le Grec ne cherchait pas sa place en quelque part dans la hiérarchie.
Okay. He's saying Bobby the Greek was not really looking for a place for himself in the underworld
Du crime organisé.
or hierarchy of
En
the
fait, il
crime.
était le chef
In fact, he was a chief
d'une cellule
of a cell,
d'un groupe émergent
of an emerging
qui
group
faisait des contrats pour les autres groupes du
who
crime
was doing contracts for the other bigger groups
organisé.
of
Nos
organized
sources
crime.
l'appelaient un courtier.
So he was a broker.
il n'était pas connu du public, mais moi,
He was not known of the public,
un nom que j'entendais depuis longtemps.
but me, it's a name that I heard for a long time.
Et c'est même un nom que j'hésitais un peu à écrire dans mes articles parce que
And it's a name that I always hesitated to write about in my articles. By the way, we read tons of his articles all the time. Some of our favorites we get from him, you know. So here it's a good opportunity to see his face. We don't read articles from random people, guys. 90% of the articles are him, Félix Séguin, that beautiful black lady with the nice hair, and Maxime Delan. I always forget which ones goes with which. The names I'm not too. I know the names, but I forget it goes with which face. He might be Maxime Delan. I can't remember. And Yves Poirier, was that his name? Yves Poirier. And that's about it. There's like 4 or 5 people. It's always them, by the way.
il n'y a rien vraiment qui justifiait, avant de commencer à écrire des noms, ça prend aussi...
Says, I always wanted to write about him, but the thing is, you see, it was kind of vague. There was really no, I wasn't like, I wasn't justified. I couldn't find the justification to do it. It was just too vague, you know?
des événements. Et on entendait son nom, mais
And we would hear his name.
concret. Et là, ce matin, il est assassiné.
And today, well, it's concrete. He's been assassinated.
On peut vous en parler.
Mais
And I can
vous
talk
dites
to you about
courtier,
it.
Daniel,
Oui.
on lui, des groupes, que ce soit les motards, les Italiens, d'autres groupes, peu importe, lui donnaient des commandes.
Exactement.
So whether it was Italian mafia or other groups, you're saying that this man was giving the orders. So he was receiving the contracts and he was dispatching the orders.
Et il y a une source aujourd'hui qui m'a
And he
dit
says exactly. And you know what? There's a source today who told me
c'était le roi de Laval,
that he was the king of Laval.
c'était le ciment entre les briques du crime organisé.
He was the cement between the bricks of organized crime. Over there, at least.
Il s'entendait avec tout le monde.
He got along with everybody.
Il faisait des contrats pour tout le monde.
He was doing contracts for everybody.
Et c'était quoi les contrats? De l'extorsion.
And what was the contracts? It was extortion.
Beaucoup d'extorsion,
A lot of extortion.
incendie criminel, coups
Criminal fires, gunshots going off
de feu sur des résidences,
on residences,
lettres de menaces.
letters of threats. Wow, looks like a lot of it came from him, guys, this entire time.
Son nom revenait souvent dans les vagues de méfaits liés à l'extorsion contre
His name would often come up in the you say this acts of property damage, extortion, things like that, you know,
des restaurants et établissements licenciés de Montréal et Laval depuis
against restaurant and establishments, you know, bars and all that in Laval, and he did say Montreal.
les 2-3 dernières années.
For the 2-3 last years. Well, my question is this: if he's right and he's getting these contracts to extort and he's actually not doing it because he feels like doing it, because he's trying to line up his pockets, that's his activity, because he's making it sound like the guy's receiving the contracts. So who's giving him the contracts then? And this is even more worrying. It's not Arab Power giving him the contracts. He's giving them out probably to these gangs. But who's giving them to him? And it will be extremely disappointing news to find out the Hells Angels are behind this, to be honest with you. Extremely disappointing. And it would basically completely I have my doubts. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm hoping it's not the case, big time, you know, because if there was anything good about the Hells Angels, if they had any good publicity about them, it was the fact that they don't really engage in terrorizing the community like that and doing all this stuff, you know. If it's the case, this would be extremely, extremely disappointing, you know. But so far, no evidence of that one, and he didn't say that. But then if it's not them, then who else could it be, you know? The only logical conclusion to this one, you would think it would be maybe the Italian mafia telling him to do that. But again, he did not say anything at all. Which ones? He doesn't seem to know.
Mais aussi, son nom revenait souvent dans des meurtres.
But his name also came out in cases of murders.
Et c'est un homme qui, oui, s'entendait avec tout le monde. Il
It's a man that, yes, obviously he got along with everyone.
travaillait pour tout le monde, mais
He worked
qui
for
pouvait
everybody.
avoir aussi beaucoup d'ennemis.
Comme un
But he also had a bunch of enemies.
mercenaire. Comme il travaillait
So he was like a mercenary. He was working
le plus offrant, mais il travaillait pour différents groupes en même
with many
temps.
groups.
Et là, Quelle est la théorie des policiers, selon ce que vous avez pu savoir sur...
So what is this? So we know now that he was like a mercenary. He was working for so many different groups. But taking account of this, what is the theory about, the hypothesis or theory about why he was killed?
Pourquoi il a été abattu aujourd'hui?
Bon, c'est toujours un peu plus délicat de s'avancer,
This part is a little bit more delicate to advance.
mais j'ai entendu parler
But I heard
d'un rôle qu'il aurait pu jouer
that of a role that he could have played
le meurtre d'un Hells Angels qui
in
a
the murder of a Hells Angels
mis en Ontario en
in Ontario
2019.
in 2019.
C'est un de ses proches à lui
It's one of his close friends of him
qui avait commis le meurtre, qui
who
avait été
committed the murders,
arrêté et même condamné à perpétuité.
and he was condemned to perpetuity.
Il est aussi question d'un conflit
It is also a question of a conflict
avec un chef de gang qui
with a chief of gang
qui est surnommé Tupac,
who is nicknamed Tupac, you know, Atna Ona, remember?
Atna Ona, de son vrai nom, avec qui il aurait maille à partir. Mais c'est ça, c'est clair, Patrice, qu'il craignait pour sa vie.
But it's clear, Patrick or Patrice, that the guy, the Greek, was worried for his life.
Il était aux aguets. Il se déplaçait dans un escalade, Cadillac Escalade blindé.
Oui, on l'a
He moved around with a, they say, bulletproof Cadillac.
vu d'ailleurs sur les images. Ben, on la voit là.
So we did see that on the images, his vehicle. Oh, look, we could see it.
Là, le haillon vert derrière.
The one that's open with the trunk in the back.
C'est cette voiture-là, en principe. Donc.
Et donc, son groupe, il y a d'autres groupes aussi qui font ce genre de contrat.
But now listen, there's this kind of group. There's other kinds of groups like his that do this kind of contracts or work.
D'autres groupes émergents.
Other emerging groups.
C'était le chef d'un de ces groupes-là. On me posait la question aujourd'hui, est-ce qu'il risque d'y avoir réplique?
So now we're asking, is there a risk of reprisals?
Ça, c'est toujours la question à 100 000
And that is the $100,000 question.
Ça va dépendre
That will depend.
de qui est le commanditaire.
Of who was the sponsor of this one, this murder of Bobby the Greek.
Mais si jamais il y a une réplique, là, on va avoir une meilleure idée. Là,
But if ever there's a reprisals for this one, then we will have a much better idea, or clearer idea.
ce qui se passe.
Lui-même, puis je pense dans votre papier, vous le dites, lui-même vendait aussi directement de la drogue. Là.
Oui.
So I think he's talking Bobby the Greek says. So he himself also was directly involved in selling stupefires.
Il y avait
Enfin,
une
il
route
faisait
d'héroïne.
plusieurs choses. Là.
Oui,
Yes, he had a route for the Black Dragon, you know, H.
exactement. Mais c'est souvent le cas de tous ces individus-là.
But it's often the case with all these kinds of individuals.
Ils vont jouer un certain rôle, mais
They
ils
will
vont
play a
avoir
certain role, but
quand même des activités aussi
they will also have other activities also
sur le côté.
on the side.
Et c'était quelqu'un qui était très connu.
It is someone who was very, very well known.
Je vous dis, Patrice, quand c'est arrivé, mon
I'm telling you, Patrice, when this murder happened, my telephone
téléphone s'est mis à vibrer, à
started to
s'allumer.
vibrate,
Et ça, c'est un signe.
and that is a sign.
C'est
un
un
gros, là.
individu important.
C'est un gros.
That's a
Même
very important individual.
on ne le connaît pas, même s'il n'est pas, comme vous dites, dans une des familles, dans la hiérarchie, c'est un gros. Et
So even if he's not a member of one of those official hierarchies, he's a big shot.
en terminant, Daniel Renaud, est-ce que les gens de Laval ou ailleurs peuvent craindre des répercussions, comme on disait? Là?
So, by the way, do the people, citizens living in Laval, should they be worried about the repercussions of this?
Justement, et d'autres événements.
Je crois pas.
I don't believe so.
Aujourd'hui, bon, les gens du politique sont sortis pour assurer la population, même le chef de la police de Laval aussi.
Today, politicians came out to reassure people.
Ils ont raison en ce sens où je vous ai parlé de Bernard Cherfan qui a été tué en plein restaurant. Il n'y a pas
Well, maybe I guess he's trying to say they were worried, and they're right because last time Bernard Cherfan was killed in the restaurant also.
eu beaucoup d'événements du genre
And
depuis
there's a lot of events like this of this type.
jusqu'à ce matin.
Until this
C'était
morning.
très ciblé, mais c'est
But he
clair
was very targeted.
que les violences armées à Montréal ou à Laval sont un problème.
But this type of shootings. It's a big problem in Laval and Montreal.
Daniel Renaud, merci beaucoup encore une fois, journaliste.
Daniel Renaud. Okay, this is Daniel Renaud. Well, there you go, man. All right, continuing to get more details here. We saw the footage, pictures of the footage a couple of minutes ago, you and me. I just want to make sure I'm just going to scan this, see if there's any additional info. Once again, any details. It's paid off. It shall pay off once in a while again. So no surprise it has been many weeks, even many months, then that Bobby the Greek was being followed by police. And they're saying all the crimes he think he's involved in. He believed that people he had doubts that people wanted to eliminate him. Funny enough, well, not so funny. We heard that a few days before he got killed, a hit squad may have approached his vehicle or his family members, and it scared them or whatever, but they didn't do anything because they were actually looking for him. And then I find it very unwise of him to decide to drive that car, park inside of a Starbucks, go in and meet 3 people. When you just a couple of days ago, people wanted to eliminate you. By the time you get back to your car, that's a perfect opportunity to eliminate you. Maybe you guys should start learning to use Skype or things like that. You basically, the only time you get in your car is when your car is inside of your own garage. You enter that bulletproof car and you drive around. I don't know where you're trying to go. You have no choice. You go there, but you don't go to a coffee shop and you don't go to the gym. That's how they smoked Scopa. Let's look. Look, now the story changes. So earlier they said they threatened his family. They went. Remember before, when it's murky, it's often like that. The info comes out murky, and then later on he realized it was wrong, and here's more clear. Look here. Look at this. Barely 2 days before being assassinated. Oh, my bad. Okay, for a moment I thought it was himself. I thought look, it's good. It's still, no, it's perfect. Forget about it. There was no murkiness at all. It actually checks out. Says, but now we have the details. 2 days before being assassinated, the ex-wife or girlfriend of the Greek was driving on board of a vehicle with his children when suspects she got ambushed. And by ambushed, like a movie, when another car comes and it swerves in front of yours and it blocks the way and you're about to the hit squad is about to terminate you. You know what I'm saying? They literally did that, but they had a heart. They saw that she was with kids, But it says the individuals armed got out of the vehicle, approached the vehicle, and they thought wrongly that it was Bobby the Greek. They were about to spray, But luckily, nobody was injured. They didn't do anything, Thank God for that. It was a vehicle that Theologu often used. If he was on board that day, he would be dead right then, not at the Starbucks, the police say. Now, a couple of hours only after that event, so when they ambushed his wife, but they didn't really want to ambush his wife, it's just they didn't know it was not him, Well, a couple of hours only after that event, a vehicle parked in the entry of a residence on Rue Méridien in Kirkland, so now we go to West Island, was set on fire. Interesting. Now, all leads to believe that the guys who did that would have made a mistake on the address. They would have rather wanted to put fire to the vehicle of Bobby the Greek, of which the residence is nearby on the same street. There you go. But I don't know. I find this very so you see how it gives you the mentality of these people. Look at the mentality here. If you absolutely want to kill someone, I'm not saying you should do it, it's wrong, but You want to operate in silence, and you just do it. Clearly, a few hours before, you tried to just do it. Now, you didn't find him. So they wanted to pass the message by burning his vehicle. What good is that going to do? It's going to make it harder for you to get him after. They still got him after. So the only point of burning this vehicle was to be sadistic about it. Just put that in your head, how sadistic this was, But there was no need, if this newspaper is not wrong and they actually were targeting his vehicle, and it was not somebody else. If it was really they're targeting his vehicle, this is not productive. Burning this vehicle before you're trying to kill him again, it's not productive at all. But they're so sadistic, they actually wanted him to know he's going to die, They already knew he was going to die. His wife told him exactly what happened. She was shit. How can I say? She was shit. Can't say the word. She was laying bricks, bro. She was probably telling him how about it, and then she's freaking out. Maybe he was going to that Starbucks cafe to meet the shooters that he was gonna hire to go and fix the situation for him. Maybe. But the sadistic mindset clearly shown here. Now I am gonna leave a little bit of doubt there. They didn't say it was his vehicle that burned, right? They believe it was because he lives nearby. What are the coincidences? Pretty much leaning on it. They were trying to get his vehicle. But you see the mindset here. The mindset. Not too smart, honestly. Very kind of dumb, But maybe at that point they realized, look, we already scared them. His wife. The wife was not enough, You did that by accident. It was not enough. Still, something stupid about this, in my opinion. Let's keep going. The investigation is still going on to find the two killers. And he was part of Greek mafia. Got it. The right-hand man of the Greek, who has survived by miracle, still did not get away with it. Elias Hajiz, 45, was still hit by 6 projectiles to the abdomen. So that was his right-hand man. He was with him, his bodyguard, I guess. Elias Hajiz. He spent several hours in the operation table. They managed to save his life. When he woke up, and then when the officers approached his bed, I guess, to tell him, like, look, let's talk about this. He I don't know if he could speak or not, but they said he signaled to the interrogators that he did not want to say anything. Elias Hajiz was a very large criminal past, they're saying. He will have to have another operation. Okay. See, we told you we can learn something from all this. There's always something. It's not as simple as skipping everything because it's a repeat. Is this exactly the same article? The title is a little bit different, but I guess the pages, they look so similar at this point. But I'm going to scan this one too for you. It's for sure that there's going to be some reprisals somewhere, says an investigator. Maybe it will not even be seen publicly. But the allegiances will be tested, and snitches are gonna get beat. Yeah, we can continue. Yeah, they said they found the vehicles, and we know that now. Now, here says, conflict with the Hells Angels. Okay, yeah, they're repeating. Sorry about that. So the Greek would have collaborated with bandits. And he was also trafficking. Okay, just repeating what we already know. Sorry about that. According to our information, the investigators are studying the possibility of a conflict with the bikers for the sharing of profits, which led to his execution. He lived large. He knew a bunch of people in the underworld. He had influential connections. This will certainly shake things up. Bobby the Greek was also an ally of Arab Power, gang responsible for numerous violent crimes in Montreal in the last 2 years. Yeah, we know extortion. All right, let's see if Félix Séguin will give us something here.
La criminalité, c'est un cycle.
Il y a eu un petit peu de confusion hier. Est-ce que ça s'était passé dehors, dans le stationnement, dans l'entrée? Mais là, finalement, ça s'est passé carrément dans le restaurant. Là.
So I'm going to be skipping through a lot of this because it's 7 minutes and it's going to be a lot of repeat. But I'm trying to extract what we don't know. Or, you know what I mean?
Assis dans le restaurant.
Ben, c'est de ça dont je veux te parler et de la violence de ce type de crime-là en 2040 Est, quand c'est arrivé à 11h hier à Cube, là, qu'on remarque que ces images obtenues par commettre un assassinat. C'est 3 hommes qui se seront pris pour cible, attablés au fond du restaurant. Imaginez si
so far it's nothing
innocente dans ce dossier.
Oui, parce qu'eux, à cette vitesse-là, on s'entend qu'ils prennent pas le temps, ils prennent pas le temps de s'aligner trop. Là. Ils tirent, ils arrivent, ils tirent, ils visent, ils tirent, puis ils s'en vont.
So far, nothing for us. Don't worry.
C'est pas toujours de bons tireurs qui a été, entre guillemets, bien commis. Là, ouais,
Everything was well committed. Everything we already spoke about.
Là, assister à des développements dans cette affaire-là.
Argent?
Ben oui, Charam Ballas, là, ça, c'est un gars qui officiait avant dans Villeray Parc Extension. Tu vas voir pourquoi il y a beaucoup d'argent maintenant, parce que lui, il était dans toute la filière là, d'héroïne, là, de la criminalité grecque là, dans Parc Extension.
Okay, so he's saying that that Bobby the Greek may have started, or he was part of the Greek mafia's pipeline in Villeray, or he said Parc Extension. So this is in Montreal. That's where he started. There's clearly a Black Dragon H pipeline that's been running there for a while, maybe before, historically. But he's saying that he's linked to that subgroup or whatever pipeline was from there.
Cette filière-là qui était régulée par, entre autres, Andrew Scopa puis Salva.
And that pipeline was how you say, the originating source, he claims here, was from, he said, did he say Andrew?
Et cette filière-là qui était régulée par, entre autres, Andrew Scopa.
Right. So it was regulated by Andrew Scopa, Andrea Scopa, whatever. You know, the guy who got killed. I think this is the one who went to the gym.
Puis Salvatore Scopa.
And Salvatore Scopa, the brother, both dead.
A fait des petits quand ces deux caïds-là sont morts. Alors, lui a migré vers Laval.
So they got killed, and then at a certain point, Bobby the Greek migrated to Laval.
De cette expérience en narcotrafic, puis il s'est destiné à l'extorsion.
And at that point, he specialized himself in extortion.
Particulièrement de commerce, de restaurants, entre autres, puisque c'est
Extorting commerce, restaurant commerces.
Un concept à la mode, manifestement, présentement, mais aussi dans des contrats de meurtre, entre autres. Donc, il pouvait travailler avec toutes les factions du crime organisé, gang de rue,
everything we already know, sorry.
Hells Angels, mafia, mais manifestement, il a marché sur l'orteil, le gros orteil de quelqu'un, ça a déplu. Le chef de police de Laval disait que la criminalité.
Sorry about that, let me just zoom out. Sorry, I didn't see, you couldn't see it.
Les événements violents hier ont baissé. En début d'année, là, si on regarde, en fait, pour toute l'année. Si on prend l'année en cours, puis l'année dernière, les chiffres ont diminué. On peut pas...
So he's saying that the police officers brought out the statistics, and they're saying that crime went down, from this year compared to last year, basically. I find that odd.
Faire mentir les chiffres, mais les policiers notent toujours une chose. C'est pas tant les événements qui augmentent, c'est la violence de l'événement qui augmente. Prends l'année de la criminalité, le gros orteil de quelqu'un, ça a déplu. Le chef de police violent hier, police de Laval disait que la criminalité, les événements violents hier ont baissé.
Okay, it was a violent events went down.
En début d'année, là, si on regarde, mais les policiers notent toujours une chose. C'est pas tant les événements qui augmentent, c'est la violence de l'événement qui augmente.
Okay, so he says that, well, okay, it's a lot of words, man. Forget it. It was a waste of time. Sorry.
À la table d'à côté, t'es pas visé. Ouais, mais tu veux-tu vraiment vivre dans un pays où ça tire du gun pour prendre un café?
Demande-lui, c'était quoi sa soirée hier soir, là, celle qui a dû se coucher à terre.
T'es marqué, à mon avis, t'es marqué pour longtemps, là. Puis
C'est ça, plus de voitures. Et on va parler de... Avec une...
All right, there was nothing in this video. Don't worry. We didn't miss out anything. It was a lot of talk, but not a lot of things to come out for us. All right, I'm going to just scan this. Yeah, more. Okay, we can skip this. We're good. All right, last one. Breaking news. Breaking news, friend. Breaking news. A close associate of Bobby the Greek shanked in prison. Can you guess who it was? Maybe if I gave you a hint. Maybe if you listened to the last episode, you'd have an idea. Well, the hint is that prison must be somewhere in Ontario. Someone got shanked in Ontario, friend. Did you guess who yet? Yes. The character we spoke about on the last video when I told you that he was taken in a picture with him and Arab Power leader definitely plotting something. The cops were following them around. In fact, Arab Power leader had just finished, I believe, was committing a murder, But the cops had no idea about the murder, but they were following him. At a certain point, they saw him meet up with that other dude. And the other dude seemed to be his superior. An older group from the same neighborhood as Arab Power. An older group. More senior. Demand more respect. Maybe it's the guy who was telling him what to do. Maybe. And that other gang was the leader or one of the members of the Rolling 90's Crips. There you have it. So, and that guy who was involved in the plot to assassinate the Hells Angels of Ontario, then finally he got arrested, and I think he's doing time in prison. So, that's the guy who got shanked. What a coincidence he gets shanked now. What's going on? Let's see. Less than 3 days after the murder of Bobby the Greek in Laval, one of his close friends was shanked 20 times inside of the pen on Friday. So, did they line this up perfectly? Was this retribution day? Markins Vilme, 34, would have been attacked in prison and is gravely hurt. We learned from police sources. We don't know if he even survived that. Now, his nickname is Big M in the underworld, and he's purging a sentence since 2022 for the murder of a Hells Angels member in Ontario committed in Mississauga. In March of 2019, the full patch member of the Niagara chapter, Michael de Baitua Schulde, 32, was assassinated by projectiles leaving a training gym. See, they always get you when you leave the gym. But I don't think the guy had was worried about anything. Markens Vilme was then arrested in company of 3 people or accomplices. One of them, Marc Issa El Khouri, was acquitted, and whereas the other ones were condemned. And I remember El Khouri was killed by rounds. We covered that one in the beginning of 2023 in Laval. Huh? Damn. This attack, coming back to Vilme, this knife attack against Vilme could be related to the murder, to the other murder of his other collaborator, yes, Bobby the Greek, earlier this week in a cafe Starbucks in Laval. 2 suspects presented themselves on the scene in the morning Wednesday before. Oh yeah, they're talking about the shooters. Yeah. They're just doing a summary. Markens Vilme is well known in the criminal underworld of Montreal. He would have been an influential member in the gang Rolling 90's, of which members are at large in the west of the metropolis and the West Island. Funny enough, where there was so many fires and messages being sent to homes, rounds being sprayed at windows to tell that person some type of message. Extortion, clearly. Then you see that this guy, they say he's the master of extortion in, they said Laval and mainly, and Montreal. Well, let me guess, Montreal West, huh? And then now he got killed, and the other dude gets shanked 20 times in prison 3 days later in Ontario. Someone paid him, in my opinion. Vilme was equally allied to emerging group Arab Power, a gang who has numerous victims in the metropolis in the last 2 years. There you go. Crazy, huh? Montreal's underworld, the gift that keeps on giving, but we are not celebrating. None of this is good. It just is what it is. Translating this, subscribe, join, help me out, join membership for the work that I do, translating this for the rest of Canada, for people who don't speak French, because these things are not translated. And you do not want to rely on ChatGPT to translate stuff. It has no brain, no soul, and it can't tell you 100% what's going on if there's a mistake or not, you know? And if you get your information from people that don't even live in Canada, they don't know what they're saying, they're just using ChatGPT, you know? Get it from someone who can actually speak French, can read between the lines here, who's walked on these streets and bumped into some of these fellas by a pure chance, and translating this for you, who's not doing this for what's it called, like a pure FOMO. I'm just trying to do whatever works, you know. If I was the case, I would have been speaking about the Italian mafia, covering all sorts of subjects, you know. I stay on this right here, and I will end on this right there. Thank you so much. And have a great day, guys. Thank you for joining Saturday morning. And yeah, just when I thought, you know, I'm not lying. I'm being honest with you. Like maybe about a month and a half ago, man, at the point I was looking at this stuff, I was like, wow, things have really slowed down. And I guess it checks out with what the guy said. Violent crime went down in the Laval, whatever. But I really did notice. I was like, wow, it looks like since the ice pick arrest, somehow everything calmed down everywhere, you know. Even Montreal, you're not hearing anything. There's barely any news to cover, you know. But I will never doubt. I will never doubt it again. Montreal, Quebec is the province that'll keep that's the gift that keeps giving. It'll keep giving, guys. This stuff will never end. It will keep coming back. It might wait a while, but it'll keep coming back. It'll keep repeating itself. There's nothing we can do about this. Crazy, guys. Have a good one. Thank you to everybody. Shout out to you all. I appreciate it. Don't forget to hit like for me. Maybe it helps with the algorithm. Maybe it not, but it costs nothing, and let's give it a try, huh? Help out your Uncle Forger. And God bless. Thank you. Take care, everybody.